guys. Hey friends.
Hello friends.
We're switching up. It's very sunny and beautiful today. So we are on the other side of the counter. But we've got Lake Michigan with us.
It's like you're
there. Yep. We're getting ready for Memorial Day weekend and rearranging.
Oh, we wish that we could give you a little
You don't want to see. I mean, it'd be funny to see it right now because there's so many boxes. So many boxes.
Yes. Let's see if
she's here, Amy.
Can you? Let's see. Oh. How do we do this? Every week, I'm just not sure exactly how to do this. Okay. This? No, I'm not gonna go live in a room.
It's like the icon isn't even showing up.
Okay. Hey, Sally. I'm sorry, you guys. Thanks for just being patient here. I'm just wondering if we needed a.
That's not gonna be it.
If we let's see.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yep,
here we go. All right,
there.
here we go. All right, Amy.
There.
Let's see. Go live.
There we go.
Impatient, everyone.
Hi!
Oh, there's a familiar face.
How are you? Oh, let me get out of that. I was laughing hysterically because I'm like, thank God somebody else can't figure it out every single time.
You take a break for
I
for
know.
a couple of months.
I know. It feels.
Used it.
Sometimes I think that, like, I don't know what the deal is sometimes, but
There's always there's like a new technical thing that you figure out each week. Like, oh, there's an update for this. Oh, there's this new format. Learn this new format. And it's there's just not enough brain space left.
No. We're just trying
Not
to
enough
like
brain left.
yeah, no.
Right here. Yes, and I swear that the buttons move like they like
They definitely have. They did that.
I know they do. How are you guys? Guess what I have here?
What do you have?
What?
I have my dish of.
Oh yes.
Oh, tell us where you found this Petoskey stone.
Oh, I don't remember. I have a whole lot of them. You know, every time I go home, if it's seasonable, go to Lake Michigan and we search and
Awesome.
if my sister-in-law is with me, I swear at her because she finds the first one.
Of course.
And I'm embarrassed because it just comes out.
It's like, yeah, you just where I was at the beach, gosh, I don't know. I haven't been much lately, but I was there last week and I did find some, but I couldn't for a while. And it's like you just kind of, I mean, I guess it's sort of like this technology. You have to like train yourself, and then all of a sudden,
Then you
like, oh, okay, there's one.
Well, it's like any hunting you do with friends or anyone, you know that like once you find one, you keep finding them. Like then the eye, like the magic eye is turned on. So if you're not the first one, you're like, they're gonna get them all. They're gonna get them all. I'm not gonna find. They're gonna find all the beach glass today. I just know it. There's always those kind of things.
But you guys live so close. Like I've never gone. I would think after winter would be a good time. They probably open up then.
Yeah, and it's
Well, I've
always
never done.
good to go right after a storm.
Yep. My husband just did that a couple weeks ago. It was just misting all day long, so it was perfect to be able to see the entire beach, everything that was dry or whatnot. And then it had just stormed that week, so he went out and just came back with a big bucket of Leland Blues. So he was like, you gotta go. Is that okay? And so he was gone for hours. Loved it. So
Yeah. It is. And so I'm from a family of 6 kids, and there are 4 girls, and the husbands have never understood the car full of rocks that has to go back.
Yeah.
One lives in Illinois. I live in Ohio. Another one lives in Ontario.
Yeah, we've always had rocks. Like Mom has tons of, I mean, just
Superior Stone they brought
Yeah,
back.
that's true. When our parents go up to the UP, then they bring like red rocks from Lake Superior,
Yeah.
agates, and
Yeah.
and then have you ever seen those? Well, I've never the Euperlite. Have you ever seen those stones before?
I just saw one for the first time.
Yeah.
And the sister-in-law who always like finds everything. She found one, but that's kind of new for my family to go up to the UP and search Lake Superior, and but they've been doing that. In fact, some of them I think are going up in a week to look for agates and
Cool.
and the Euperlite.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Yeah, we found our first. I mean, that was last year. No, 2 years ago. We didn't travel last year, but 2 years ago was the first time we heard about it and found it, and that was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And shells are nice, but the northern people it's the rocks.
And we have so many rocks from our last couple of years of going crazy that I did find something, Pinterest find that in like just having like a big not a dish, but just making like a big rectangle and putting them all in, and then that's where you put your shoes, sandy shoes, muddy shoes, or whatnot.
Oh, cool!
That all just goes in the rocks, and
it's useful. Yeah,
rocks display,
cool.
but that's where your shoes rest.
Oh,
so
that's
in
such a good idea.
So in the mudroom, we're gonna do one of those at some point. So that'll be fun.
Very cool. We've been painting our house, and when we're done, we're going to add a patio. But there's a downspout that I'm ready with, like 3 buckets of rocks to do sort of a rain garden extension. So that's where most of mine are going to go.
Yes, idea.
Sweet.
I want to do that too. That's a great idea. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how's it
How
been?
are you guys?
All of this shutdown stuff. How have you been doing with it all?
It's moving into a different phase.
Yes.
So there's some light now.
Yes.
But
yeah.
Early on, there were days that I just we had to be. My husband and I both. Well, everyone works from home now, but we both were working from home already, and
okay.
We just had to really allow ourselves to have fail days. I don't know if that's really fair. They're not really fail days. They're just, you don't accomplish anything. You might need a nap. It's just, it was heavy.
Yeah.
Good.
That's great.
But like coffee in my favorite artisan mug. Just all those kinds of special things that I enjoy. Really, every time I went groceries, I like Trader Joe's, and I would bring home a bouquet of flowers. I made sure I did that, and
great.
reading and magazines, and knitting, and just a lot of TV.
Yeah.
And 80s TV. So I grew up in the 80s, and I'm like, why do I want to go back to the 80s TV? And then I read it's a thing. Like it's security,
the comfort, the easing of the anxiety. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I prefer to rewatch stuff.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. We had 2 channels, and ABC did not come in well, and that was out of Grand Rapids. So if I could get something like Heart to Heart, and I love mysteries, so I was just beside myself. So sometimes it's Heart to Heart, like those kinds of things that I couldn't get very well, and but yeah, or BBC, a lot of BBC.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How about you guys? How have you? What kinds of things have you done?
Mostly work, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It was mostly work, but
re-envisioning business plans like 600 times.
Just not even. It was just trying to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time, it was just the 2 of us for a while, and then it's just even been busy and juggling kids at home while trying to do that, and right now I'm at a place. My husband works from home all the time. I work from home all the time, and my daughter's there all the time. So all 3 of us there in the house is like a good safety thing, but it is less productive. So that's it's totally different.
Not to mention sometimes you just want to say, can you go away for a little while, or can I?
Yeah.
Just have
Yeah.
a little.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is nice that I am close to the shop, so I'll do evenings at the shop, so I can run down here and have my space. Chad has no other space. He doesn't. So I mean, every once in a while when he's like, I'm going to go to the beach, that would be his little bit of space. But he would try to take Cecily, like, and Cecily's like, we've been here for 20 minutes. I'm done. And he's like, oh, he just started. So there'll be some of those.
Oh.
And she would get she like misses home, but I'm like, but we're always home. But she's so used to being home now that it's having a harder time leaving.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
back at school, and how old is she?
she's 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was something that I would have never envisioned. We're like, we're going out for the day. And she's like, can we go home now? And I'm like, why? Why are we going back there?
Yeah. Well, and I'm a person who, I realized once when I read a definition of introvert, I can really be conversational and have a nice time. But what I read was you get your energy from being alone. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah. I can spend days and days and days alone.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is a little different when you know that you have to.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's one thing that I've been really, really happy with is she has been such a creative, imaginative little thing that she's constantly creating worlds in the living room, in the kitchen, in her bedroom. So the place is a tornado, but she's talking to herself, playing with all of her lovies that are best friends and whatnot, that I'm like, that's healthy. That's good that she's not like, let me out of here. Like, she's having all these little worlds, which has been good. Then Dad and I can get some work done. So, yeah. And she's learned how to feed herself, do that. So that helps. Sometimes she's been very excited to be independent. So she'll pull the chair. She also has figured out where all the sweets are. So she feeds herself too. And she's figured out how to get into the basement by herself. You can't use the baby gate apparently on a 5-year-old anymore. They've figured it out.
They're kind of big.
So, I was like, did you bring that up yesterday? This little grill. Did you bring that up yesterday or did you, Dad? No, I did it. I was like, I'm very proud that you did that all by yourself, but can you not do that again? That's kind of heavy. I'd like you using the railing. So, but yeah, she's loving being independent more than I think. I don't know. She probably wouldn't be that independent now, So there's definitely some upsides that to all that. I would still be me.
I think in some ways, I don't have kids, so I have lots of nieces and nephews, but in some ways I have thought, well, this is really good training because this is what we're doing as adults. we have to figure it out. So.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So yeah, she's got a lot of new skills. She doesn't have as many, I wish she was schooling better. But oh well, she'll catch up. And so it's really great that the skills that she picked up now are really cool. So that's good. I don't think I've picked up too many new skills.
I feel
I feel like some people have branched out into new things. I don't think I've.
Well, you haven't had as much time. I mean,
sure.
You just haven't had as much time. You just haven't. And I think that's one of the more difficult things about it's really cool, I think, that people can work from home more often. That in many industries that is becoming normal, because I think it makes sense for people, for their time, for their commutes, for childcare reasons. Even if you can shave off 5 hours a week where you're not paying childcare because you're not commuting, I mean, that's significant for families. And so, but because you can work, and it is really nice if your job, you can kind of do work here and work there and kind of pepper it in throughout the day. You can throw a load of laundry in while you are cleaning out your inbox, and that is good. But I think that for a lot of us, whether you have a small business or you are working from home, it's really difficult to turn it off. I mean, yesterday, I got a lot of stuff done. I mean, I chopped I did every single thing on my to-do list. But then when I thought about it, like, I mean, I worked for at least 12 hours yesterday.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's sort of like, that wasn't my intention either.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and the opposite, I think, is true, that the distractions can be, you know, the other thing.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's rare. It's rare for me to be able to have such undivided, like such focus. Like I do get distracted very easily.
Well, and interrupted too.
Although my kids are not at home. I am the only one during the school day, Monday through Thursday. I'm the only one that's at home during the day. Everyone else is at school. And so, and that's fine. And I think it's just kind of in general a balance thing for me personally and where I'm at in my life, both professionally, but also personally, and trying to take care of myself emotionally. I feel like I need to establish better boundaries with work and home life.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily, and I think the pandemic has brought it into greater focus, but what I need to do is to be more present. When I am with my people, then I need to be with my people. And when I am with my work, I need to be with my work.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that the constant access to technology is so good because I do feel like I'm very connected to all sorts of people that I'm not in person with all the time. But at the same time, some of that is a lot more fringy. I'm not as deeply connected to some of them, but also then I can get snappy and crabby and distracted when my children want to read a paper book with me, you know, where I'm thinking about all these things that I've got to do. But maybe if I had just a little bit more focus during the workday and cut that stuff out, then I could just put it to bed. And it's also just practice for me. I'm putting some tools in my toolbox through professionals and just figuring out, okay, what is good enough? Good enough is good enough. Mm-hmm. And kind of like, I don't know.
With structure, yeah, I think that's one thing. I think this, you know, since all this structure has kind of just gone out the window, and how helpful structure can be,
And
or
create your own structure. Yeah.
can be, just is. But so I think that's hard for me. I just fly by the seat of my pants constantly. So I'm like today, I called Melissa. I was like, I've done a bad thing. Like I'm trying to do like 6 different things at once. So I got all the way into Traverse City, which I never get to, and I don't have my wallet. Don't have my wallet. So I can't buy things that I was supposed to buy today. So you're like,
no.
if I was a little bit more methodical and slowed down, but when you're just like, oh, I've got to fit it in.
I've got an hour here where I've got childcare. So I've got an hour to run my errands. Or while I'm picking up my cat from the vet, then I can go pick up the kids. Oh, I've got to go to kindergarten roundup. Oh, I can do this and I can pick up this and I can pick up this. And I mean, sometimes it takes me an hour no, not that long, but sometimes with this like COVID brain, sometimes I feel like it takes me an hour to create my list. So as I know how to approach the day.
Yeah. I'm not just carrying my list.
Yeah, right.
I can add all the things.
Yeah.
On the days. I'm already a couple weeks in, starting to put notes in and whatnot, but that's helping a little bit. But yeah.
But you're exactly right, I think, with having those grace days too.
Yeah.
I think that, and I read something today about just like legitimately putting it into your schedule. Rest.
Yes. Yeah.
And play and being playful with your body, with your mind, with your just all of that sort of stuff to just reconnect with, I don't know, what's real.
Mm-hmm. I certainly have been reading some great habits books.
Oh yeah.
But things like, the nervous energy, and then looking at Instagram, and then it's like that. My husband gets really kind of mad because that is changing your brain. That is changing your ability to be present. And so just working on those things, but that's a fine line of, okay, so how am I going to approach this marketing thing
Mhm.
and not like be looking, oh, I got to respond. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Especially because that is one that is hard to like to set in a certain time frame because you can't easy access. You're constantly can be tapping in and out of work, tapping in and out of that work brain, versus being like, I only look at that between X and X. Like, I don't. People treat social media like that even for their work. So that's.
But I think it's absolutely. I think that it's like doing that in general, whether it is like, I can't say whether it's like trickle up or trickle down. It's like, okay, if people, the people who are handling social media put themselves on more of a schedule, then it would train the people who are using it that, okay, this is, it's like I think we all need to know that not everyone is available at your beck and call, because every person who's running any sort of social media account or any sort of business, I mean, there is humanity behind it.
Right.
Perhaps not some, I mean, perhaps not some of the big guys, of course, but
still, it does feel like because we do have that thing, because everyone is so connected, that means you're available to me all the time. And I think that can be hard for business people to be like, how do I shut off? Because I'm ridiculed if I do shut off.
I know.
But,
You do see a lot of that ridicule happen in, especially where some things are happening and there's monitoring that has to go on. And I guess that's maybe a different situation, but you really have to make the decisions. And I'm trying to feed more people to newsletter, to email, which is something we're doing with our giveaways tonight. But so that that is something that is more. It's not this instant thing. It's more, there's more thought and meaningfulness that goes in, and
that was one thing we kind of thought when we, a lot of 2020 was survival mode, and I feel like a lot of what I'm doing currently is kind of survival mode, but we got to a place where we're like, yeah, we did that. We survived. Now we're going to like stop doing that. Like we just need to let things come at whatever pace they do. Like our plan for this year was like, I don't know. That was our plan.
Yeah.
Like, just like,
it
takes time.
Yeah.
That's felt nice to just be like, it takes however long it takes to do this. We're not putting ourselves on a time restriction. We're just going to give ourselves a little bit of space. And there's another point I was getting to that. But that's just been helpful. And that's what I was going to say is that, I mean, a lot of what we're talking about with knitting, with lifestyle, this should be this feeling of this slower, getting connected, focusing, or just being in the moment, being present, enjoying what you're doing is a slow thing.
It is a slow thing.
It's very, the opposite end of this instant.
Well, and let me tell you how
time.
That's played out for me. So we took a company pause in 2019, and that was so our founder could focus on the economic development work that he's doing in Kyrgyzstan, which means, working with more shepherds and blah, 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 blah. But he couldn't be funding both things. And so during that pause, I said, you know what, I really we haven't given this enough time yet. And so my husband and I invested, and we're doing the yarn portion. Okay. So the yarn arrived January 2020. And I'm getting ready to start things back up. And I hadn't even, reached out to the shops who had us to say, we're back, because COVID hit. And then any of the orders that were starting back, all canceled. And understand so, but it really made me pause and think. And I think that, 2020, horrible year. I wish, so many people hadn't died and all of that. So what are you going to do? You make the best of it. And I am very thankful that something made me stop again, because those very issues of pace and when it brought back, so everything started up again, it all came to me in my house, and that's a blessing because I didn't have overhead for some place. And but being just me, that's as you guys know, that's an awful lot for one person. But it made me think, okay, what, patterns. I cannot, first of all, but it's not going to be a pace of patterns that come out, boo, 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 because we have to have new patterns. The point is to be timeless. This cashmere is been built in a way it's supposed to last a lifetime. Well, so are the designs, and so making it go more organically, and then out of that, just serendipitously, I hooked up with Shelly Anderson, who used to be designer for Shabui, and she's mentoring me as a designer, and then Taylor Harris, and we're working on that. Well, how can that, sort of extend what the whole premise of the company is in Kyrgyzstan? And so as we sort of mentor, how can we then turn that into a mentoring experience that somebody else can, kind of learn to design and get to use cashmere. And so, and that's slow.
Right.
That is not breakneck speed.
Yep.
And I can't. And so it's sort of this really fine line of, okay, so how do you organically grow and then be able to sustain another person to help you? And so all of those growing pains. But it's just to say that absolutely, it should be organic. It shouldn't be, this is about slow making. This is about, this isn't about what's the next fad new thing.
Right. It's not fashion, and I think that's a lot of what we're used to, is that there's new things coming out on shelves every week. There's new magazines on the shelf every week with new things. And so it's, and I think, and not to say, there's a lot of companies or dyers or whatnot that, like, that's their thing. Like, to have a new color to keep in the thing is to have something new and peppy each time, because they do just specifically just that.
Right.
And for us, it was kind of like who our brand is and what we are is so much of lifestyle, is of getting back to basics, and having some of those organic, slow made things that it's like our pace should follow that too. And so that kind of felt good, that we were like, there are some things that we were like, we're not going to do a promotion that's going to be every week or every 2 weeks. There's going to kick something out, because that's against the model that we're kind of talking about, or against the lifestyle that if we don't want to live that lifestyle, why do we want to push that onto our customer too? So that's been kind of nice to have that kind of hiccup in that wheel that I think we were so easily all going in. It was so much of that mindset that we didn't really pay attention to enough, that getting overburdened and exhausted, that you were like, yeah, why were we doing that? Or just like seeing the world completely different when it gets shaken down, that you're like, not when all of a sudden, nothing matters anymore. You're like,
right,
I'm doing a lot of things that didn't matter, or things wrong, that it's kind of nice to have the opportunity to refocus
and you can understand why we start to work in those ways, because of the fact that, like, everyone, and I don't know, this is a whole offshoot, but everybody wants to be relevant. And I think you could say that the desire and the urgency to maintain relevancy from your space in a capitalist marketplace, which we are. So, yes, there are things that we need to do to rail against it. But any of us that are selling things, that's the business model that
we watch happen, that
we watch happen. And then the other aspect of it is the relevancy. I mean, we have, obviously, I mean, it's been a big, the elephant in the room maybe throughout the COVID times is the ageist sort of society, like where we're not taking care of perhaps the most vulnerable people. And so if you are old and not old, but the elderly are not necessarily pulled in as the most as the most relevant, right? Because they're just not, you know, if you're not hustling, you're not relevant. If you can't hack it, then you're out of here. And it's sort of like
that's not where the money is. Not where the money is at. So that's not where we're gonna focus on, because you can't get on technology enough. I'm going to deal with who can get on there the quickest and spend the money, and that's where I focus my energy.
And that and it's like so you can understand where the pressure for everyone, for all of us. I feel it. Liz, like we all feel it all the time, to just like, well, I've got to post something, I've got to create something, I've got to do something, I've got to perform in this sort of way, so that, because if I don't, people will forget that I'm here. Whereas I think it's good, where at least the two of us have been thinking a lot lately, and not just, we've been thinking a lot more about like, okay, well, what is the story? What's the real story? We want it to mean something. I'm not good at selling things, and I've talked about this, whether it's with our Open Stitch group on Saturdays, or if I've maybe talked about it in the Making Comfort and Joy. I'm not very good at selling stuff that I don't love and that I don't feel emotionally connected to. It has a story, and I think that's where we think that we want to be in the spotlight, sort of, or that we're all clamoring for this very tiny little spotlight, sort of, or the spotlight, I mean, in the knitting world is pretty big, but at the same time, it's like, well, is that what you really want? Is that high, like that real high beam, or do you want this real and true connection?
And a lot of them, I mean, it just, even in the beginning when we started, it was just like, well, I just want to be able to pay myself money, that I can do this. So you do whatever you can to just like,
well, that is a reality,
you know,
so you do
like,
have.
I need to start somewhere, and I need people to see me and to buy my things. So then trying to pivot out of that can be really hard, but it's really hard to be like, I'm going to be slow and organic. And when it happens, it was like, that won't pay the bills. So I hope someone's funding you.
Right.
So,
that's true.
Right.
That's a luxury. That is a luxury. And that is definitely like, you're right. You're right. You have to, and that is why people can't necessarily just step out and just be like, you know, I'm just going to give this Instagram thing a break for a while because I just need to soothe my soul. Where it's like, yeah, that's cute. That's a nice idea, but I need to make money. And
every week I need to make money.
And that is absolutely that is the truth of the matter. I think that's why it's continues to come up. And I think that's how Instagram loops you and gets you. And I don't know.
Yeah. It's a tough one. But more on how you got involved with June Cashmere and Sai and that story, and how did that all come to play?
So I was a former academic. I taught Spanish. I studied languages, how they work in the mind. The gal from Traverse City that you had on the other day, who yes. And so you were asking her about the second language stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, that's so cool. And it's fascinating. It's so cool. But I, all the kinds of things we're talking about, which is so like wrong to me. But it's set up, that you're competitive and you're supposed to be pushing and publishing and do that. And that's competition with your whatever. So anyway, for me, it was like, I can't do this anymore. And I always loved textiles. And in fact, when I went back to look at some stuff that my mom like cleaned out the attic, and I was like, I found this design work of clothing, like little drawings for like I can't remember. I think it was like for those comic books of Archie.
Oh,
And I'm like,
Yes.
I thought it was there. But you know, I grew up in a very rural community, and I think that languages was the closest thing that sort of, and you know what? Transitioning into sort of textile and then yarn and then weavers guilds and that kind of thing, there are a lot of people who women who are just very well studied and looked at, and a lot of them did language in some way or linguistics or anyway. So like this is fascinating.
that's cool.
But
Part of the brain or something.
yeah. So so when I transitioned, I mean, I had the luxury that I got my degree at the University of Illinois, and then my husband came back for a job, and so we moved to Ohio. He's originally from here, and so I said I can't do it, and he was earning enough, and there's just the two of us. So I started to take weaving and started to really explore. You know, I already sewed and I already knew how to knit, but I just really began exploring those things that I love. And then at some point, oh, well, my husband's job was politically based, and so he worked for the governor, and the governor lost, and so then he lost his job. So then I better get back to work. I tried to go back and teach at the university and got hired, and I'm like, I can't do this. I was physically ill. I can't do this. So, so what I did was I started a blog so that I'd have some credentials so I could go like find a way to work somehow. And I worked at a yarn shop and all that. But Cy was presenting his, like one of his very first yarn shows. It was 2016, I think, in the fall. And he had 4 colors. And for this blog, I said, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, this is so wow!" And talk about needing a story and something meaningful. I said, "I want to write about you." Well, then that turned into I got an article in Salvage magazine about, and that was like, oh wow. And then we just kept meeting, and he had to go back to Kyrgyzstan, and all of a sudden he said, are you interested in trying to build my company? And so there I was, like, no experience. But we did well. Like, we were really building wholesale, and that was spring of like summer of 2017. And so it was like not even 2 full years, and I really need to take a pause, and we need to figure out what to do, because he had to pursue this deherring facility. And if you don't know about that story, there's one deherring facility of cashmere in the Western world left, and that's in England, and that person would like to retire. And so if there's no deherrer that we can go to, then it's all over. So that's what Cy's doing. And you know, he was ready to go. He had ticket in hand. He'd worked with the fellow, the deherrer from England, and they were working on the exact machinery he's going to buy to like run the cashmere through and get what the specific specs of the machinery needed to be. And they had tickets for China, and they were saying, I remember writing him and saying, "Cy, I don't think you should go there. There's this, they keep talking about this virus." And well, they canceled their tickets last minute, and then it wasn't very long, and everything blew up. There was the H&H trade show in Germany, and I wanted to go to that, and you know, that was canceled. Wow. It was wild, but that's how I landed here. And so yeah, I'm just really, this last year has allowed me so what came out of this year is working with some shops like you, but really focusing on the marketing, on the designs, on sort of the grassroots, that really sort of getting people to know. I've been doing a lot of Vogue events. So getting people to hear about the story and hear about what the yarn is and how it's different. And I think that's really good. So
can you go into that story a little bit of what the yarn is and why the yarn is what it is for our viewers?
Well, sure. So if you don't know, June Cashmere is based in Kyrgyzstan. It's all about economic development for Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan was part of the Soviet Union. It was part of its textile producing region. 1991, Soviet Union collapsed. Kyrgyzstan became its own landlocked country. But all the infrastructure, all the mills that employed thousands of people, the community agriculture and towns that the Soviets established for the shepherds, turning them from nomadic people to semi-nomadic people. All of that, so you're landlocked, even your markets. So the feeding of the fiber from the shepherds, who had automatic, sales to the mills that turned, all of that collapsed almost instantly. And since 1991, the country has kept looking, entities like the World Bank, they've all been looking toward how can we go back to the fiber history to try to help with economic development. And anyway, to very fast forward, in the south of Kyrgyzstan, there are these 20,000-foot mountains that actually isolated the native goat. And isolated because in the rest of the textile region, or in this case, Kyrgyzstan, the Soviets did not, they didn't appreciate the goat for fiber. It was about meat and dairy products. So they did a lot of crossbreeding with the Don or the Angora goat. And, but that native goat, there was an entity, research entity that this woman named Carol Kervin, who's a social anthropologist, in about 2008 went down to this southern region and looked at the goat and looked at the fiber and said, wow, this is excellent fiber. It is on par or has the potential to be as good as the best cashmere coming out of Mongolia and China, which makes sense because geographically it's right next door. And why the potential? Because things were happening like shearing. And so Sai worked with shepherds in training and teaching best husbandry and collection practices and all the ethical issues about cashmere production. Sai really addressed. And so what is the yarn like? Well, I even read in a spin-off article from 1986, I think it was, that there was the first international cashmere conference. And in that article, it said, oh, the North American market likes cashmere to be very inexpensive. And they respond to the tactile, so they like it to be very soft. Well, to get it to be very soft, you have to really over process it. And that, since the 80s, that is what our market knows as cashmere. You can think of the butter in like the department store, and it's relatively inexpensive. Maybe it's $100 or more, but you get only 4 ounces of cashmere off a goat each season. So it takes, like 6 goats to get you enough for a sweater. And a family owns about 10 goats. So it is not a unlimited resource. It is a limited resource each year. And so what Sai did was took it to mills in England, who England and Europe, I think have more been used to cashmere milled in this way, but it is not over-processed. So the hand, as you guys know, when you knit with it, is a little different. It's very organic. It's more wool-like. It's a shorter fiber, so it's sometimes people say cotton-like, but when you wash it the first time, it just really blooms. And the stitch definition and the drape and the longevity. And I, as a new designer, well, even if I weren't designing, knit and undit and knit and undit. And the integrity of the yarn holds.
Yeah.
And so it's, to me, when I work with it, I'm like, this is amazing, this yarn. And so I'm just very hopeful that it can do what it needs to do. And we got through this year and see if we can, you know, the
How is
yarn
it
can
going?
do what it needs to do.
How is it going over there with all of the COVID? Have they been isolated enough? In the
They've
area?
had shutdowns like we have. They've had masks. They have, well, I was going to post this. Cy sent me this little ad, and I was going to post early on. It was kind of this funny post over there that a guy with a mask, if this was like a TV ad, like a visual ad, and a guy comes into a little shop and has a mask, and the people are like, "Oh, you just want to hold us up? Oh, that's wonderful." But the guy was holding it on, and I'm like, "There's no way I'm posting that." So like, no. But very much the same. Their illnesses really hit in the summer months. I was really hoping that they don't see that kind of thing happen again. But yeah, it's everywhere.
So did he have background in agriculture, or did he decide he wanted to do this and then have to go learn what he was going to be training everyone?
He had to learn that piece. His deal was a business degree, and he was just really incredibly interested in economic development work. And in fact, he spent the first 9 years of his life in Africa with his family and parents. And his father worked for an NGO working with water wells. So yeah. And I just, if you've ever been to a foreign country just to sort of live, you know, do the study abroad thing, or just visited, or an extended stay or whatever, it's very challenging, like even to get your daily needs met. This guy has, you know, withstood obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, and just his tenacity, and it
Right.
just, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that is one thing that I've heard in other things too. We're just so used to being very pampered, or if there's a challenge, we don't really know what to deal with it because we don't maybe deal with as many challenges as a lot of other people do around the world.
Very true, right?
Yeah,
So very true.
that's awesome. Cool. How many, you were mentioning that a lot of families, they have about maybe 10 goats. How many families, or how many farmers?
About 1,200 families currently, and we work in this country. But what the mill will do then is allow Cy to start going and reintroducing the native goat to the rest of Kyrgyzstan, working with the rest of shepherds all around the country, really trying to bring Kyrgyzstan to be known as a world-class cashmere producer.
Awesome.
And, and then really working. I mean, there are many articles on, like, Fashionista a few years back had a great one on how ethical is your cashmere, or how sustainable is that cashmere. And reading the article, it was like, wow, he has addressed all transparency in where we,
Yeah.
you know that the fiber is actually cashmere, so it might be those blends that come in, and you know that you're getting, you know, the longest, most uniform staples. We're not over processing it. He's incentivizes pay. The shepherds get more pay based on quality of their fiber, and incentivizing quality, not like quantity, so that we don't see again the desertification that happened in Mongolia. And yeah, so yeah,
That's
I'm
awesome.
really proud of it.
So cool.
It's so great.
So that's basically the newest stuff, is basically just working on the design and doing that. That's the new
Building
piece.
that portion of things.
That's
Wanna-
exciting.
Swatches.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to see the swatch.
Here's like, can you see it very well?
So cool.
So some color work type of things, and it, and then now like can envision garments. I have something in mind here. This I can see. This is the DK weight, and just really long, twisted stitch, like little cropped cardigan.
Yes.
Love it.
This one I can't wait to do. This I see as another kind of cardigan where the stitches naturally give you a waist.
Yeah.
And then color combinations. This is like our so it's been a while since I did this one. Pretty sure this is our sea glass with our moss, and they're like right next to each other. But can you see the nuances of the two colors?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So I love swatching. If I could just do the swatching and then say, okay, this is one I want.
Yeah, someone make it.
Yes.
But
Yes.
anyway, yeah.
Way cool.
And now currently DK and fingering, how many colors in each? How many colors in the palette?
There are we have our natural, which is the blend. Oh, I'll show you. This is like this is straight off the goat, so it hasn't been anything. And this would have been a darker goat. So there are only 3 colors of goats that produces the cashmere, and they are like kind of a gray, a brownish, and a cream. But there's a black. There's a black goat. But the black goat never produces, there's never black cashmere. So the cashmere is only the downy undercoat that, so if you see on our website, you can see pictures of the goats, and they have the big, long, hairy outer coat. That's just the outer coat. And so if you were to shear that, well, right after collection time, so cashmere naturally molts off in the spring, and shearing all that, then the shepherds are going to go up the mountains to graze with the animals and live in yurts till fall. You're leaving the goats without any protection from the cold weather. And then selfishly on the cashmere end, you have potential to clip what is already a short fiber, which you don't want to do. So that's why we reintroduced combs. And this is a story I love, that they would go into these villages and asked, has anybody heard of combing? And one woman came out, old woman, and said, I remember I have something like this. And she went in and she brought out a comb that was fashioned from the spring of an old car seat. So again, the combs are kind of like, you can visualize the spring part being kind of cut. And okay, if the Soviet Union collapsed in 91, this woman remembers that knowledge from Soviet times. This is how quickly information is lost. And so reintroducing combing. And anyway, so what we end up with is this is then de-haired, scoured and de-haired and ready to go through the mill, and the blend of all the colors that.
Okay.
And hopefully what can happen, if we make it, we can have enough goats where we can separate out some natural colors, and they can be that way. But we dye on top of this, so our natural is unbleached, undyed, and then we dye on top of this. And I have a little ring of colors right here, and we have 15 colors in both fingering and DK. And so the color palette,
I just love that.
It's so good. I love how it's grayed.
Yep.
Grayed down. I just love that.
yeah. So yeah,
It's
and
gorgeous.
they all go together, and
They do.
yeah. So anyway,
That's awesome.
Cool.
that.
Well,
Wonderful.
before we lose everybody, because we just have a few minutes left, we want to tell them about the awesome giveaways. Do we go?
Do you have your, there they are, the fingerless mitts. So Amy is so graciously giving away a kit to make the fingerless mitts.
This is called Sparrow. It's my very first pattern.
Mm.
Mosaic color work. You'll get a skein of the main color, and I'll let you choose. And then a half a skein for the mosaic part. That means no floats. The color, no wasting yarn, and no floats. And a skein and a half should let you do 2 pairs of mitts. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Fingering.
Great.
Cool.
So that's going
You
to be
guys are giving away like huge.
that's going to be one giveaway, and then Liz and I are going to give away 3 skeins of the fingering weight. What did we say? Stone crop, black cherry, and
Oh, I can't remember. I saw the picture.
can't remember what the color is.
I can't either.
Yes.
Regardless, 3 colors. These beautiful, beautiful pinkies, gorgeous, and then a tin of our Royal Blend tea, which reads like or tastes like it's Earl Grey. So
Very nice.
we'll have the giveaway open tomorrow on our website from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. Eastern time, so as not to clog the website. You can find it under our events tab, and if you can't find it under the events tab, but you can search for the giveaway basket in the search toolbox, and that'll show you where it is.
Yep. Making Comfort Enjoy giveaway.
And that will be tomorrow.
Yep.
So and what they do, right? So the way this is working is they go to you, and then did I understand that then when they're all done, they get a button to me, or no? Or do I have to do something?
No, we'll just let you know.
You'll let me know. Okay.
Yep. Yep. So it's just going to come through. They'll just put all their information. It's a zero.
Perfect.
It's a zero product, so we'll just have you put your information in. You'll get in the drawing. We'll do a random generator for 2 people, and then we'll announce that.
So I just wait to hear from you.
Yes. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yay. Cool.
Well,
thank you so much.
An hour, it flies by.
It flew by fast.
I always wish we could spend more time together, but when you're here next, we will. We'll go rock hunting, and we'll do it.
I will call you up.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think I can get there this summer. Like I think
Good.
That we can do that.
Yep. Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
It's great to see everyone. Thank you so much, Amy. Thanks for sitting down with us. And give our best.
So honest.
And keep doing what you're doing. We are so grateful to be a part of it.
Yes.
Yay. You guys are my role models. Like, wow. You survived the 2008. Was it 8? Like, I mean,
don't
my God.
bring it up.
And I really have sometimes I look at you and say, what are you doing?
Yeah. We do lots of funny things in the back.
But no, really, really proud of both of you.
It's fun. It's a really, really amazing community. It's a really awesome.
We feel so grateful
we
to
get
be
to
a
do
part of
this
this place.
Our